Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race, we are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 359 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here and excited to have a bit of a deeper conversation with you and my guest today. I am excited to welcome Jackie Hoffman, who is the founder of Peace Runners 773, which is a community club, a place for people to connect and use social, physical, mental health and wellness to grow as human beings. I am really excited for you to get to know Jackie in this episode, and we dive into Peace Runners, what they are doing in the Garfield Park area of Chicago. I think there's going to be a lot in here. If you have an idea that you want to begin, want to set up, I know you know what that is for you. We all have something that we really believe in, we can change, we want to be that leader. I think this is going to have some really good advice for you here. So without any further ado, let's go meet Jackie Hoffman. Friends, I am so excited to welcome Precision Fuel and Hydration to the Running for Real podcast. They are our brand new sponsor. I have been using these products for months, but as with me, I always want to check things out, make sure I like them, make sure I love them before I suggest them to you. So Precision Fuel was the only fuel that I consumed during my ultra marathon. I did have a few bites of other real food items around the way, but this was the only gel that I took, the only electrolytes that I took. So I want to tell you a bit about them today. So I loved taking the Precision Fuel. As I said, I exclusively used it in my Bryce Canyon 50-mile ultra, which I won and finished 4th overall time ever for women on that course. So it was a very good race. And within that, I took their gels, which have 30 grams of carbs, which is the most efficient way to get that into your system fast. The gels have this very mild, neutral taste, so you don't get fed up of the flavor, and I had no problem continuing to take them. The texture is really easy to go down. There's a lot of gels I don't like, and this went down so easily, so you don't need to drink with them. They also have chews, which I love, the lemon and mint, which I love that combination there of flavors, where you get 2 gels in each pouch. You can, I took 2 bites within each chew, took them down, went down easily. I alternated between the two. There's also a caffeinated version if you are interested. And I am excited to welcome Precision to the Running for Real podcast. So if you use the code TINASENTME to your cart at precisionfuelandhydration.com, you are going to be able to get a 15% off discount. You can also go to precisionfuelandhydration.com/Tina, and that will add your code automatically to the cart. Beyond that, Precision is actually also offering a free fuel and hydration, planner that they can use to understand how much carb, fluid, and sodium you need to perform at your best in your key runs. You can visit the links in the show notes to go get that free planner. And they also give you free video consultations with their athlete support crew. This is absolutely free. There is a link in the show notes to go get that consultation scheduled. I highly recommend you check it out. But again, go to precisionfuelandhydration.com/Tina to go find out more. Jackie, welcome to the Running for Real podcast. I am excited to have you here today, so thank you for joining me.
Welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here with you. Let's go.
Yes, you and I met about a month ago. We just ended up randomly at a dinner. Well, I didn't actually, because I had to go eat somewhere else, but we ended up sitting at a table together, just chatting. We had a full day of talks and networking and conversations, but I loved getting to hear what you have been doing in your community with Peace Runners 773. And I thought, Jackie is exactly the kind of person that I think is the perfect fit for running through a podcast, just showing the importance of community leadership. And especially for you not coming it's still unfortunately the case that most people, I think, in the running space either run as young kids or in middle school or in high school or in college, and then they kind of work up from there, or they maybe ran casually on their own. But for you, that was not the case. And I think for many people now who are leaders in the space, that was not the case, which I think is a critical gap that is being filled by people who were not born and raised in the running space, but came to it later in life, recognized the importance of it, and just came from a different approach. So is there anything you want to say about that piece of it, of just maybe do you see that most people have a different entrance into running to you?
Tina, to be honest, I was the last person in line for all sprints. I did not like running. I was a typical athlete. I played football growing up. That was my form of running up, getting my cardio in. But every time the coach said, get on the line, it was always looked at as a form of punishment. And to look at it now, to see me now actually running marathons, half marathons, and running these distances in endurance run, I'm always shocked at myself. All my coaches hit me up and said, I used to struggle to make you run, and now you just run for fun. But it's truly, I learned that, through the process of running a 5K and running a half marathon and a marathon, the lessons that these races teach you, it's a really good experience. And the mental clarity, the mindfulness, is a special place to be when you're starting endurance running. So I'm appreciative of it all now.
Do you think for someone like you growing up, or someone who, as you can imagine, as your coaches have said, there are so many people out there, running is punishment for almost every athlete of every kind except for running. Running is the punishment. Do you think there's anything that can be done to change that in people that age or in that situation? Like, could we have said to you at that age, oh, if you slow down, you might enjoy it more? Or do you think it's just a maturity level that you would never have had to understand unless you were, on a cross country and track team and got to learn it, by being in it?
I think it's really all based on perspectives. And I think that it's not about telling anybody about the experience. It's about showing them. So I think that is what Peace Runners is really good at. And that's how we show up to our community. We got to understand that running culturally for different people or different races of people, it looks different. One group of people might want to listen to rap music and hip hop while they run. And one group might want to not run and they run competitively and they just want to not listen to music. Or one group wants to listen to rock and roll. But we understand where our community stands in Garfield Park in Chicago, West Side. So we come to our community as they are. Like, we show up, we listen to, we know we live in West Side Garfield Park. We listen to rap music while we run. But it was one kid last week, that came out to our community workout, never ran before, but he does boxing. And he actually said, my mom told me to come run and walk, and I thought that was going to be lame, but I actually came out here with y'all and I had a great time, and I'll be out here next week too. And I think that that's where we have to do in the run communities. We have to meet our communities where they are to get them active and moving.
Would you say for most people that show up like that I guess you can call him a runner now, running last week, you have to almost rewrite what they think about running because they come to it from a this is going to be painful, this is going to be hard, this is going to be boring. Do you find you have to kind of shift the perspective for them, or does the run itself, just being a part of that, do it for you?
Just creating an environment and the culture that changes the perspective for them, meeting them with the love, the passion. We have fun. We really do have fun. I know that we could, say, we going for a 2-mile run. That, even the distance of 2 miles is really beginner level and welcoming to people that never ran before. But, with the traditional run groups, people like, we like 5 or we like to go to 8. And that's intimidating for this community or the communities that I serve as a nonprofit. So the distance of just 2 miles and having a break at 1 mile is insane. But we make sure that in that 1 mile break, like we'll run 1 mile and then we'll start talking about the community impact that we are, creating. Like one day at that 1 mile point, like 15 cars came past and was blowing horns. And that was so empowering for this community because we usually don't see that in this community on the West Side, but to see those cars and the people of the community like cheer for them, it empowered us. And then it also empowered them to see something different in their communities. And that's how the movement keeps going.
I love that. That's so important. I actually, last weekend was in Atlanta for the Peachtree Road race, and I went to an Atlanta Run Club meetup, like group run, and they had a 2 mile and I actually don't even know what the other one was because I did the 2 mile, and that was actually the first time I'd come across, a 2 mile being kind of the standard. And I loved that meant we did 1 mile out along this belt line and then 1 mile back. And it meant that, we could see each other on the way out and the way back. And it was very, I don't know, it was a very different energy to what I've experienced in other, runs the day before a race. And I just really loved it. And I could see how empowered many of the runners were who were getting out there for the first time or were new to the sport and how much it meant to them. So, I love that like you said, for experienced runners, a 2 mile run is nothing. But for those who are trying this for the first time, who are coming out there, that's a long way. And celebrating 1 mile is still a huge accomplishment for most people.
You got to have the celebration.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so Peace Runners came about. You mentioned you are based in Garfield Park. You have a mission of bringing together and inspiring the community of Garfield Park through social, physical, mental health, and wellness. Was that something that was a passion to you when you were younger?
No.
Do tell.
Younger Jackie Hoffman, I always talk about it. The younger Jackie Hoffman coming up from Garfield Park. And if you don't know Garfield Park, I can paint the picture for you. The life expectancy in Garfield Park is 67. The life expectancy in the surrounding communities around Garfield Park is 72 and 72. You could go 3 miles east, which would be downtown West Loop area, which is like the tourist area everybody comes to. The life expectancy in that community is 85, which is only 3 miles away. So we know runners know distances. So 3 miles away is nothing. And it's 2 different worlds. The other side of America, I like to call it. Garfield Park does not have a grocery store at this point, which is insane. When you want people to have a better quality of life, you have to get them the tools and the resources. That's why in some of my videos, I will run past share stations and say, bring us our resources, because I do want to get the message out and awareness that it's a side of America in this community that lack grocery stores, disinvested communities, abandoned buildings, completely educational system is torn apart. We have abandoned schools everywhere on each corner. A really bad look for a kid that wants to come up and dream. So for me, being an athlete, my biggest thing was to live the American dream for a kid that's coming up on the west side of Chicago, is to make it, is to get out of this community and use that sport, use football. I use football as my ticket to get, remove myself from my community for a while. But now when I came back after I did everything I did, I was, just to give you a quick bio of me as an athlete. I went to Curie High School, was a high school all conference, all city guy. And then I went to junior college, and then I was All-American, junior college All-American, and I got a Division I scholarship to historically Black university, Bethune-Cookman University. And I did a workout with the Bears, did some Arena League, and all of this came back to me just coming back home And the community that I seen when I was growing up, and I just looked at the playgrounds and me running around, you don't see community as community because you're not noticing all the problems in the community. You're just growing up. This is all you know. Mm-hmm. So going back and then coming back home, I noticed the problems. Like that's when I had went to see the world. I was living in Daytona Beach, Florida, living near a beach and living like a way better lifestyle than I had been living when I was a child. But coming back home and just seeing my community and looking like what's going on and why nobody don't help. And if everybody, I assume that people drove through this community and seen what is happening. Like, why isn't things happening or people putting forth the resources to make sure that people are, having the basic needs for a quality of life. So, yeah.
And coming back to that, did you immediately jump into action or did you kind of go through a period of, wow, well, this has been like this since I was a kid. I just didn't really pay attention because, like you said, I was just growing up. It's not going to change. There's nothing I can do. Or did you immediately feel like I got to try?
It hit home for me. Everything that I speak for is personal experiences that I go through. So my mom is 65 years old and I looked at the life expectancy at 67. I'm looking at that and saying that who wants to only have 2 years to live with their mom? Like, nobody, I'm going to try my best to, provide my mom the best quality of life because I want her to live here for a long time. In this is when I was just coming back, she was overweight. She was suffering from obesity and high blood pressure. And it was just like the culture, actually it was like a shock to me because I was actually sitting next to her when she was on the phone with her doctor. And it was during like the COVID times where they was having like the telecall and she was on the phone and her doctor was like, ma'am, you have to, you got to do this, you got to lose this weight. And I was like, let me challenge my mom to, move first. And she started to like walk a mile every day. And then I started to like change her diet. And it was hard because she's 65 years old now. Like to tweak her diet was, so super stubborn. Like, she was trying to feed me different. My mom can't eat pork. I was like, no, let's try to get away from this because this is what her doctor was also telling her too. But just to see her transformation, she has now lost 60 pounds. Her medications have went from 13 to 2, and her doctor visits had got extended from every 2 months to every 6 months. So it's really simple that movement is medicine. And once we start to move, we can start to line up different things in our lives. As far as diet, it always comes with, what are we sacrificing first? So that first workout, that kind of makes you realize that, hey, I need to make some changes. And then that's when you start to move. And then we start to change diets. And then that's when that big transformation happens for people. And it started from my mom and it's all inspired by my mom. And I was like, why stop with my mom? Let's change the community. Let's change Chicago. Let's change the world. Like, let's create this blueprint and let's make this work. So it's been beautiful ever since then because now we have transformation stories. Every week I'm crying talking about. So I'm so proud of y'all. I'm so proud of y'all. So it's been good.
And of course, the more you get those stories, the more people see that this is not just a one-off, that this is not just your mum who always had this in her, but you're seeing other people from within the community that inspires others to think, well, maybe I could do that. That provides more stories that might resonate with them in a way that others hadn't. And it really is like a snowball effect in that way.
Yes.
Can you share some of that with us in what you've seen in, maybe numbers or just, as you said, like people who had heard of a story of someone else and then that inspired them to come themselves?
Okay, so just like the impact in general, like just the impact this year, we ran over 9,000 miles this year. We have 45 people completed 13.1, the half marathon. 25 of those people were first timers, which was crazy. Most of these people are coming from Garfield, Lawndale, and Austin community. Which is super crazy.
Yeah.
10 people ran the marathon last year, 10 first timers. We have really transformed the narrative. Like, it's been an amazing journey. We just had a 61-year-old two-time breast cancer survivor, Maddie Buckley. She just ran her first half marathon at 61.
Mm-hmm.
Like, beautiful. Like, that is like, I'm still processing the whole 13.1 process, the race, because it was just so much for one day to train 45 people, to get 25 first timers through the finish line that didn't believe in themselves, but now they believe. Like, now they are half marathoners, and to have that special one, Maddie, like, cause she started off as a walker. We have a senior citizen walking program also called the Young at Hearts. Don't let them know that I call them senior citizens. I call them the Young at Hearts. So,
wait, I take it they can't use the internet that well, because it definitely says it on the website as well. So you're relying on the generational gap, are you, here, that they won't figure it out?
Yes. So the Young at Hearts, Maddie started off as a Young at Heart, and she used to walk. She walks with my mom, so part of the walking club, and she seen us run, and she was like, I want to do a 5K. And we did a Couch to 5K program last year. And then now the 13.1 came to Garfield Park, as you know, with CEM and the Bank of America. And this year she was like, I want to try 13.1. So I was like, I believe you could do it. I'm always preaching life into people. So I'm like, I believe you could do it. I think you could do it. Let's go. And she trained for 14 weeks and she completed it. So it was insane to see her cross that finish line.
Thank you to Allbirds for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for their support, for all that they do, and the work that they continue to put in environmentally to do the right thing, even though they are a public company. And by the way, did you see that announcement? They have shown the photo of Moonshot, the world's first net zero carbon shoe. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can go check that out. Really cool design. I'm very excited. It's going to be coming spring 2024. And when I say the first net zero carbon shoe, that means that there are no emissions. They have found a way to balance out emissions without using offsets. The materials they are using, the way they are creating this product, is adding zero carbon to our atmosphere. So go check that out. But today I want to talk to you about a different pair of shoes that I've mentioned in passing, but these are one of my favorites. I've mentioned to you that I love the Tree Flyers for my runs, and I do run many of my runs in them. I also wore them for the last 4 marathons I have done. So they are wonderful for that distance. They are my favorite running shoe right now. And also I've mentioned to you the Dashers, the Tree Dashers are my favorite day-to-day go-to shoe that I'm wearing most of the time. I definitely recommend both of those. However, I want to talk to you today about the Tree Loungers. Now, these are my shoes that I take with me on trips because they are ideal for going from daytime to nighttime. I have worn them for walking around all day. I have worn them for going out in the evening to fancy restaurants, like the kind of restaurants that have like caviar. Not that I go to those very often, but occasionally when I get invited to a meal somewhere like that, I have worn my Allbirds Tree Loungers. Really comfortable shoes. They look great. They come in all kinds of cool colors. And yes, sustainably made, of course. They are slip on and go. Made of eucalyptus tree fiber, which is going to give you lots of comfort, and they're very, very cushioned. So you can go to allbirds.com and you can, if you actually use the link in the show notes, you can get a free pair of socks with your order. So I would recommend using the show notes link to go get yourself a pair of those. Also checking out the Tree Flyers and the Dashers. If you use the link in the show notes, you can get a free pair of socks with your order by adding it to the cart. Go check out allbirds.com. So let's talk about that piece, Young at Heart. You've mentioned a life expectancy thing, so you're kind of almost, you're trying to flip that within the people you have access to. But what motivated you to have a focus on that group of people rather than just going for, okay, I'm going to go? Most people would go for the other end and be like, okay, let's get the youth. Why did you feel it was also important to focus on the older members of the community?
I mean, that's the heart and soul of our communities. When I know we focus so much, and so much of our like funding for like city and state or even globally is funded towards youth. But in all actuality, everything that we learn are from our grandparents, our mothers. Like it comes the other way. If a child was to come home and say, Mom, I don't eat meat anymore, and the mom has chicken on the stove, the kid is going to eat the meat. Like the mom is like, son or daughter, you're going to eat this meat. Like this is what we do in our household. But if you can change the grandma's methods or the mother's methods, now you can give that, like now that passes down, because now the mom is saying, hey, we don't eat meat anymore. Or we going with this diet, or we're going to start moving. This Saturday, we're going to go out for a 2-mile walk with the Peace Runners. And that is how we create change. And when you say the seniors, well, the young at hearts, when you say the young at hearts, I always like to say, like, we can't forget about them, because they are the ones that retire and then they lose themselves socially because they stay into the house. So if they don't have a social group or a place to be, then that kind of like takes them out the whole picture of community. And then also we have to keep them moving, because think about you going to work and you moving and grooving for 8 hours or 10 hours or however long you work. If they don't work anymore, if they retire from their jobs, then what do they do during the day that keeps them active? And for me to see it with my mom, I noticed that that was a big gap in our communities, like a big gap in how we move in the world. So that's why I brought, the young at hearts, and we keep recruiting our elderly people, our young at heart. We need more members and keep getting them, and they inspire us, because it brings that village back.
Sure.
Like when you come to Peace Runners, you will have a grandma hug. You will have that big tight hug that we are used to, and everybody know that hug. So when you get that big tight hug, you like, oh, that's only a hug that a grandma or a mom could give you. And then to follow up, to have those youth come, it's a family style intergenerational health, movement. To have those youth see the grandmas and the moms and that love, I think that's what makes us different. And that's what makes this a movement of like people just want to be better in community.
Yes, I love that so much. For someone listening whose own parents, grandparents do struggle with their weight, with their health, with taking care of themselves, and, we kind of joked about your mum being stubborn, my parents the same, like you kind of get stuck in your ways. I mean, we all do that, but as the years compile, you more and more get stuck in this is how I do things. What are some things you've noticed that help in kind of changing that, like getting them out of their comfort zone, trying to show that it's not like you can get to a certain age and be like, well, is what it is. What's some advice you have for people in that situation who are really wanting their parents to be active and taking care of themselves, or the grandparents, and they just are finding it hard to get them to listen?
I would say patience. Have patience and show compassion, like really show that love, and really let them know what it's about. I think that for me and my mom, our relationship, it was a scare. It was like her going to her friends' funerals, people in our community. Like I remember one time, like it was at one point, it was just like funerals every week. And, it feels close to them. And it's not like people think that everybody in Chicago is dying from gun violence. No, more people, it's already proven that more people are losing their lives from like high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, all of these different things. They are losing their life in that manner than just going out here and getting like shot or something like that. So with my mom, it was like she was losing her close friends that were dying from like health problems. And I'm like, Mom, like this is real. Like if we don't fix it, they will continue to give you medication. Medication has another side effect, another side effect, another side effect. And it's kind of all go against each other. So I was like, Mom, if you can walk or move or lose weight, then you can get off this medication and get off this medication. And all her medications have just been dropping. She's so excited. So she's motivated. But just putting her around a group of people also, like her younger hard group, they hold each other accountable now. Like I step in and say, hey, y'all need to step up. Y'all need to do more than 2 miles. Let's go walk for another mile today. And they all are doing it together. So I think that's the power of everything, because that's why we run sometimes, because most of the people that ran that half marathon did not want to run 13 miles, but everybody was doing it together. So they're like, my friends are doing it, so I'm doing it with my friends. So that same method, we use that with our young at hearts. And our young at hearts, they walk 5Ks. Some of them, they do this little walk jog too, where they kind of run a little bit, then walk. And it's really beautiful to see a group of like elderly, like ladies. Mostly my dad said he gonna join the young at hearts too. But to see them move and to see them hold themselves accountable and get medals. One of them said that there was the most medals they ever got in their whole entire life, and she's 72 years old. So,
wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Do you think you can, like with these people that have joined Young at Heart, or that branch of Peace Runners 773, do you think you ever can make someone show up to something like that, or does it you kind of almost have to hit them at a time when they are, like you said, emotionally vulnerable or aware of what's going on? Like, can you, what are your thoughts on that? Like, it is difficult, isn't it, with people who are set, like you can't make them show up, you can't make them change. So any advice or thoughts there if someone's struggling with letting that go?
Yeah, we can't make them show up, but we can come to them and bring it to a level that they can understand. And I think that's the biggest thing with empathy, is knowing where people are at, and then you coming to that level and saying, just bringing awareness. And once you bring awareness to it, because some people don't know. Like I told you, like when I grew up as a child, I thought that this was like, when growing up in the same community, I stay in Garfield Park now. I moved back to it. So like coming up in the community, firstly, I didn't know it was a problem, or I didn't know the true problems. I just lived day to day, and that's how you go about it. And you just live in survival mode. But once somebody brings it to your attention to let you know, and it's somebody that genuinely cares about you and loves you, I think that that's when the transformation starts to happen for them, is that they see that we care and we want them to live a better quality of life, or live a long life, or have some more years, or even just enjoy the time that they do have here from a holistic wellness point. So once they, see that people care, then that's when they will start to push themselves too. And that's what we've been experiencing now, is a real big love, like a lot of love, and them just saying, we didn't want to walk these 3-4 miles today, but y'all called us in the morning and y'all showed up. And while we were on mile 3, y'all gave us a hug and a kiss, and we walked the extra mile because we knew y'all wanted us to, do more, be greater. So
that's so amazing, Jackie. Like, I hope you do take some moments to reflect on like literal life-saving and life-changing that you're making to people who have had decades of ingraining these habits. So I hope you do step back and think about what you're doing here, because it's really cool.
Yeah, I know, for real.
So then on that note, you yourself are a law enforcement officer. That's long hours. That's easy to push your own health aside and say, I'm just tired, I'm just going to rest today. What would you say to people listening who are in similar situations, who do work long shifts, who are on their feet all day, and they don't feel like getting out there themselves, or they know someone listening who is in that situation and they say, I just can't, I just don't have time or energy for that right now?
We always got time. And I learned that my wife is a mental health clinician, and I am so in tune with who I am, my time, and how I have to move, and my body. So for me, working long hours, and like for her, she's like, you got to run or you got to work out, because that's my peace of mind. That's my mental, like the place where I can get mentally that nobody else cannot reach me. And that's my do not disturb mode when I'm going for a run and I don't care about my phone. Or sometimes I get so drawn in on social media, it feels like my own TV show when I can just go on IG and stroll for hours. And I know I had to take that point out and say, like, hey, go for your run, get your workout in so that you could be a better person. Or, I got a lot of stuff going on, running Peace Runners and also working a full-time job. So just to have that peace of mind and that space for just me is so important. And I think that's how I continue to refill my cup and to proactively attack this movement and this nonprofit work, like to continue to show up for my people. So I got to refill every time.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a good point. And so when you said there, is that where the name Peace Runners came from in terms of it? Running has always been your peace. Tell us a bit about why you chose the name.
It's a double meaning. I do believe in taking space. And when we talk about safety, it's so easy for me to tell you that running is accessible and for you to put on a pair of shoes and you can go run, right? But if you don't feel that you are safe outside, then that brings up a whole bigger problem because you want to take that first step outside. And I think that, I know that in Peace Runners showing up consistently in this community between Garfield, Lawndale, and Austin, people have told us, you guys are like our police. Y'all are our police because y'all run these streets and y'all bring people out of their houses, which creates visibility. And that's the number one thing with even community safety and safety plans is you got to be visible in community. So the people that are doing bad things, they see you. And just because they see you and they know that you are around, then they automatically may deteriorate crime. It might be a person that say, I'm not doing that today because now we got a group of 60 people running around and they are a nice group of people. I talk to them every Saturday and I'm not doing it right now. So you stop crime. You stop violence. And that's what Peace Runners had, the double meaning of the mindfulness part of peace and then also taking space and community and creating safe spaces and community. So that's our other side of our peace.
Thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. AG1 is the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it literally every morning. It is the first thing I do when I wake up. It is the only ritual I am able to keep. I gave AG1 a try because I knew, even with the best of intentions, I was not getting in everything I needed to get in, especially when it came to fruit and vegetables. And with my past of going a bit too far in terms of orthorexia, being a bit obsessed with clean eating, I really try to eat what I feel like in the moment. And honestly, with 2 young kids, sometimes that's not always the best of choices. But AG1 fills in all those gaps of things that I am missing. It tastes good. It has 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients. It is wonderful. So I drink AG1 first thing I do when I wake up. I stumble my way downstairs, go to the fridge, open the door, fill the AG1 container up with cold water, add a scoop before I begin my day, and it makes me feel ready to go. I feel strong. I feel energized. It is enough for me to run with. And I just really love taking care of my body in that way. Athletes love it. Entrepreneurs love it. Busy, paced, high energy. Those of us with hectic lifestyles, we all love it. It is like an insurance policy for your body and your mind. So I really encourage you to go check it out if you have not already. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase, which are ideal when you're on vacation. Go to drinkag1.com/Tina. That's drinkag1.com/Tina. And I just want to remind you, this offer is valid for in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in the UK. All of you get that special offer without all the additional customs prices. Go check it out. I wanna just go into that just a little bit more, the running accessibility piece, because I think I mentioned to you that I have a book coming out in just over a month now. Did I say that to you when we were talking?
No,
Yeah.
I ain't hear about the book.
No, I didn't say that. Okay. I do. And one of the chapters we focused on that exact thing, that, it's often said all you need is a pair of shoes to get out there. But like, parks and trails and recreational areas are predominantly and almost totally in richer, whiter, suburban communities. And while it's easy to say go get out and run, if you don't have a sidewalk to run on where you can be safe, if you don't have a trail to access, it doesn't mean anything when someone says go out to the trails. You just need to find one. And then the same thing, we also talked a lot about how a lot of Black and brown communities are in sacrifice zones within cities where they are exposed to pollution, and a lot of like toxic, chemicals in the air and in the soil and in the ground, that like going out for a run is not really a safe thing to do when you're near the Tide factory that is dumping out chemicals all over the place. And so we spoke to that piece, but I just want to, talk through this a little bit more, because this is a piece that is often missed. And as you mentioned, it's a regular thing that's thrown around the running community. Yes, is it more accessible than maybe like a tennis court, where you have to book a tennis court and you have to find a tennis court and get a racket and all that, but it's not what people think. So yeah, do you have any more thoughts on that while we're on that topic?
Yes. Unfortunately, like for our community, it's different. When you say like the waste and like, I definitely think about the waste, because so many times you run around in this community and you do smell like all these different fumes, which probably are like is not healthy. And like I know I had listened to your piece at the summit, with the race summit, about sustainability and like different things and different tools. And then I come back to Garfield Park and I'm looking at like so much waste on the ground, so many different things. And I look at it so different. So I did want to give you, I didn't even tell you, but I want to tell you that I appreciate you for giving your piece at that summit, because you brought awareness to something I didn't know about. Well, I didn't like look at the way you looked at it, and that team. Yeah. And y'all brought that to light. And I came back to the community like, hey, we need to do a community cleanup. Like, we need to do more about sustainability, like take all of these tools that we've learned and just help our community in that manner of safety also. So yes, just had to tell you that part. But yeah, I definitely see a lot of things in our community.
I mean, I really appreciate that. And that actually brings up something else, which is that so again, in Atlanta, when I was there last weekend, I hosted a plogging run, which is picking up trash while running. And we did it along the finishing straight of this Peachtree road race. And actually, while we were in Chicago, we were going to host a plogging run, but where we were going to host it was in the Loop. Or I think it was like the Theater District. It was along what's the Riverfront Trail? What's that trail that goes along the river? Riverwalk, is it called? The trail that...
The Riverwalk,
yeah, right along Riverwalk. Okay. But, we noticed in the days before that there was no trash on the Riverwalk, which speaks to another piece here, in that, like, it's one thing to go plogging, picking up trash, take care of your community in that way in an area that is already very well taken care of, got lots of resources to have trash clean up and have people going along there constantly making sure it looks pristine. It is a totally different conversation to have it in a part of town that doesn't have those resources. And then doing a trash pickup there, you're going to get like 10x the amount that you're going to get in an area, which again speaks to the privileges, speaks to where the resources are spent and used, and just further, divides us, sets things apart. And I live in St. Louis. It's the same thing here. We very much have like, one street, one side of the street, is like these giant houses, very well, resourced, funded, and then the other side of the street is not. And so while I can host these plugging events and I can encourage people to do it, there's no point doing it in a place where everything's already taken care of. We have to be able to think about how we can support communities that don't have all the money and funding being funneled into them in the first place.
So. Yes. So just to follow up on you with that, I remember this text that I got from Mike Nishi, and he actually texted me early in the morning like, hey, let's clean up on the side of 290. And he was like, this street has so much garbage on it. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it that day, but I legit remember like the team, CEM team, coming to Garfield Park and cleaning up a week before. It was like 2 or 3 weeks before the race. And I remember them cleaning up like the side streets and like him noticing like different areas that needed to be cleaned. And that was kind of amazing. Like, even for like a big time race director and like, a big time race, the people that runs the race actually step in weeks before the race to clean up the community and show like that community buy-in to actually care, and not just on race day or 2 days before the race, come clean up. No, this was way weeks before to say like, there's some issues here that we can help out with. So I definitely remember that. And we do a lot of community cleanups ourselves because we value that. We know that we have to keep our community clean to make everybody else care. Sometimes they got to see you do it first before it actually builds that value to them showing up and saying that split second decision of them throwing the trash on the ground or putting it inside of a trash can is like a big difference. So
For sure. Absolutely. If you see people picking it up on the side of the ground, it makes you think twice about, wow, they're out there picking up other people's stuff that they've left. It's not exactly a like sexy thing to do in terms of, picking up other people's waste. And I've seen that happen in New York. Most places you go in New York, there is a lot of trash. And I've had so many people yell out the window, like, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to do this near where I live. And, it really plants a seed in people. So I appreciate that. And thanks for sharing the example of what Chicago Event Management, CEM, does. So I want to talk about that. They, CEM, and obviously I just want to mention this is not anything to do with CEM. They didn't tell me to bring this up. There was CEM added this year a 13.1 half marathon, but they didn't do it where the marathon is, where the Shamrock Shuffle is. They decided to do it in a different part of Chicago. So do you want to share a bit about where did they do this 13.1?
Well, they started from the wonderful, wonderful Garfield Park. That race is year 2. This was year 2. The inaugural.
Oh, this is year 2. Whoops.
Yeah, year 2. Last year was the inaugural 13.1, and that was the first one. And I recall when they actually came out there to come visit us Peace Runners when they came to the Gold Dome, and it's a beautiful piece of architecture. And like you can go in and like look around, and it's like this ancient, like they got like writings in the wall that's been done like years ago, and it has this beautiful gold dome. And I remember looking at Carrie walk around and was like, this is so beautiful. I haven't been here in 20 years. And just to see the team come here and actually create this race in this community. And I remember all the pros. I remember all the pros of the race being in this community because it was something different. It was the reimagine the run, getting outside of the traditional downtown running and bringing it to our community, which Garfield, Lawndale, and Humboldt, which were all beautiful parks. 3 of the most beautiful parks we got in Chicago. And for them to see that the beauty in it, but also know that like it would have had some pushback with people like saying like, oh, these are like tough areas. Like these are the areas of the city that most people don't even go to. So when they say reimagine a run, this is legit areas of the city where people don't even travel through. People don't try to go through Garfield Park. They'll hop on I-90 and go all the way to, different places of Chicago. But it seems like our community is always skipped. One of the big things for me, it was just like, if we want to create a community change, like a overall walking score, like people moving in community, we have to bring resources to that community. Abandoned buildings doesn't help communities grow. A race like 13.1 and people seeing value in our community, and also bring awareness to the people that's in that community to let them know that people are beautiful regardless of which community you come from. It's beautiful people inside of that community. And I think that everybody that is running 13.1, it's a different type of feel when you run 13.1 because you legit have people coming outside of their doors in their community coming to cheer on runners they do not know, and they do not have no knowledge about run. It's just that they see something positive and they see people are in a community. I remember running I'm running past Garfield Park and I seen one of the community members, and she usually cleans up with us, that Miss Connie, and she seen me on the porch and she said, "You better run." And I say, "I got you. I'm doing it for us." But it was a special feel when somebody can come outside their doors and actually cheer on a race rather than just be downtown in a planned spot to be cheering you on. So it's special. It's a special race.
Yeah.
I'm biased a little. I'm biased a little bit because it's home, but it's still a special feel.
I think you're allowed to be a bit biased with it, as I think we all are with our kind of races that we consider hometown races and whatever that means to you. So then, why was that an important step? I mean, obviously for you being from the area, there's a pride in that, but like, why is it important for anyone listening who might be a race director or who is friends with a race director to consider, where you are hosting races and not do it always in the famous downtown area or do it in the part that everything else is happening? Why is that important? And why involve the community, not just be like, we're going to do a race in this area, this is what we're going to do, done. Like, why is it important to involve the community with that step too?
I know the big thing in every room now is diversity, inclusion, and equity. And that's what I ride on. I am all in on equity in any way in our communities and for our people, because we all have an input in the world and we all are special people to the world, and everybody deserves that. And I feel that the race coming to our community makes people feel special in that community.
Yeah.
People being involved in a race in our community, like us peace runners in itself, just having a strong showing of representation for our community and bringing a strong representation of diversity, inclusion, and equity, like having us show up to say, like, these are the people of the community and we're going to run this race because we're going to show you the beautiful people of our community. It's really important. It's so important. And I think that everybody have to see it. And I'm not a big talker on like telling people to do things because I can't sell nothing, but I can show you, like how it's done. Like that's how I do it. And now it's just like, if they see it, it's tangible. Once it becomes tangible, then they can actually achieve it. And I think that the people that came out on their porches to see the race, then now they can look at themselves and they can be like, they can see a peace runner in that race and say, that person runs through here all the time, or like I see them running and now they're in this race and now I want to take a step for my health. I need to be running too. And you hear so many people say that, but now like you will see more people taking a step. And I think that even with peace runners, we had 14 people run the race last year, and now we have 45 people this year. And then next year I can see 100 people. Like we come in 100 strong. We're like representation from this community because now they see it and they believe that it's tangible, and now they actually can get it. So
yes, love that so much. So running groups, running crews, running clubs are really kind of having their moment right now. And I'm really loving this. And I've mentioned many times that I think we're long overdue this. We need people who are innovators and who are viewing the world differently and changing things. Who are some of the other, assuming you look at some of the other run crews, run clubs from other areas, like who else is doing some really cool stuff that you're admiring and learning from?
So many. globally, hold on. First, I'll start off in Chicago. Just Chicago run community is crazy. It's so much love. I don't know how any other city run community is, but I'm telling you, we did a Juneteenth 5K and we asked for everybody to come out and support. We had over 350 people come. Most of these people were community people, but we also had a strong showing from Chicago run community. Can't forget, you gotta love 7 on Sundays. You have Gumbo Fit. You have Grocery Run Club. It's so many different options. Midway Mile Chasers, Venados, Tortugas. So we got some amazing clubs. It's like 60 or 70 of them. I can't name them all, but if y'all watching, y'all know I love you. Run Too Hard in Humboldt. It's a lot of amazing run crews that are really stepping up for their communities and understanding. I always call it understanding the assignment. Understanding that we need to move in community, and it's what do we call it? It's like a different genre. Wherever you want to go, like it's whatever you like in Chicago. We got a run crew for it. So we all band together, and it's been beautiful growing with them. But like globally, I always gotta think about the we run 313, like heavies in the game. Mad Miles and Charlotte. I adore them too. I watch them from social media. ZFT Houston, I love them too. And then We Off the Couch in Virginia. I'm watching all of y'all on social media. So keep doing what y'all doing.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Let's go. It's a movement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And, actually, I hadn't heard, what did you say the Virginia group was called?
We Off the Couch.
We Off the Couch. I haven't heard of them. I've heard of all the others.
Yes.
And I want to throw out there for anyone listening who wants to look for more accounts to follow all of them. Follow Atlanta Run Club in Atlanta and Pioneers up in Boston.
Pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't forget them.
Oh, can't forget Can't forget Sid.
And, yes, Sid also has a high performance running apparel company. The only Black-owned running apparel company in a multiple billion-dollar industry. So Sid especially is doing some incredible work. Jackie, is there anything else you want to share today that we haven't covered that you think is important?
I'm really big into leadership and people stepping into the light. That's been my 2023 theme. So for anybody that is watching, that has a great idea, that's hesitant about it or like hesitant about stepping into the light of leadership or leading, even like when we talk about these run community leaders, like it's bigger than run now. Like most of them are stepping up for community. I'm stepping up for health equity. I'm stepping up for representation in sport. Like now we're talking about like, we need more. It needs to continue to happen. And I think that if you're watching and you thought about it and you had this great idea and you're able to make it happen, I mean, make that step and stay consistent. As my friend Aaron always taught me, anything with consistency, you build it, they'll show up. And just continuously keep jabbing at it. And I think that this run community and what run is doing for the world is going to continue to grow. And 5 years from now, I can't imagine how beautiful these races will be. And like, just to show everybody, like everybody showing up at races, regardless of race, gender, any type of manner, is going to be amazing. It'll be really good for everybody. So excited.
Agreed. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, for all that you do. I hope, as I said earlier, you do take time to step back and recognize what you've done, because it is incredible. Love talking to you. Loads of links in the show notes I will put for those running clubs we all mentioned. Obviously for Peace Runners 773 and the Chicago 13.1. Lots of links. Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Running for Real podcast and everything we do here at Running for Real would not be possible if it wasn't for the Running for Real team. While I am the person who you hear from most often and maybe the face of the brand, the rest of our team are such critical pieces of what we do. And without them, I think I'd just be running around in circles with ideas. So I want to take a moment to thank our team. To Jeremy Nessel, who's been with me since the very beginning. Kat McKay, Sally Pontarelli, Kelsey Wang, Sandy Gutierrez, Louise Murphy, Andrew Basola, Alexandria Will, and Maria Vargas. Thank you to each and every one of you for all that you give to Running for Real and our community. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful for having you as a part of the team. I really love that conversation with Jackie of Peace Runner 773. You should check out the link to Jackie and what he is up to with Peace Runners 773, as well as all those other running groups we mentioned. There are so many links in the show notes. Go check those out and you can find out more and follow along. And if you can go do that 13.1 next year, I definitely encourage you to do it. I am going to be there for sure, working with Chicago Event Management. I would love to see you, and we will do some kind of event with them. And also, if you'll be at the Chicago Marathon, I will be hosting some kind of plogging run. So please let me know if you will be around. I really appreciate Jackie and all that he taught us, his energy, his enthusiasm, his love for this world. It was really cool to get to know him and hear his story a little bit more. And I want to encourage you to check out the links in the show notes at runningforreal.com/episode 359. You can also find links there to Allbirds to get that free pair of socks with your order, as well as Precision Fuel and Hydration, our new sponsor, the brand I used for my 50 mile. I used it in Boston. I used it in London. I used it for my 1 mile, and I will be using it in my coming ultra this fall. So be sure to go check that out. There's a link in the show notes for you to go see that. And also to AG1, go to drinkag1.com/Tina. You can also check the links in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you on Monday for a Together Run, on Wednesday for a For Real episode, and Friday for another one of these. I'll see you then.